We are live. Whether you are live or on the replay, welcome. I am going to be diving in and giving you a complete flip through of everything that comes in the high school year one language arts course set. And we're going to do page by page of the workbooks, the grammar and writing guide, and the cards. The books I'm going to give you more of like if you were at the store picking it up, touch and feel kind of overview because they're not. We don't need to go page by page on those, but everything else we will see every page. And I'm going to go ahead and start with the. I think we'll start with the books, and then we'll go into the workbooks, and then we'll do the grammar and the cards because the grammar and writing guide and the cards are used for all 3 years. So rather than starting with those, we'll go to the end in case you're just here for these ones. All right. If we haven't met yet, hi there. I'm Elaine from On the Same Page Together. We are a Christ-centered home of learning, and on this channel, we talk about all things family. We like to share what works for us as we strive to encourage you on your journey in life and family. So I've got a few notes because I've done a little bit of research and trying to configure how we're going to do this and where these books fit into the unit because they are integrated with the course. So what I want to make sure and cover is that you do not have to buy these from the Big and Beautiful. However, they line up together. They give you the level that they are. They, I think, have edited out any like taking the Lord's name in vain and profanity and that kind of thing. So they're a little bit of a cleaner copy. And if you're just buying the whole course set, they come with it. So depending on what you want to do there, you do not, if you can find them, not from the Good and Beautiful, you do not have to buy them that way. And I did see, as I was just glancing at one of the frequently asked questions, can they do the audiobook version? And they mentioned yes. So you might be able to find, they mentioned Audible. You might be able to find them on, I don't know, Libby or Hoopla or Audible if that's what you have to do the audiobook version of them, if that's what you prefer or your kiddo prefers, whatever works for your family. So if we get into Just David, sorry for the glare. It should not be a problem in the books because they're not glossy, but they are a little glossy. It is a problem on the glossy things. So Just David is used for units 1 through 3. It is a level 9/10. David was raised in an isolated mountain cabin by a devoted father who taught David to love beauty, nature, and music. When David's father becomes seriously ill, he decides to take David on to relatives that the boy has never met. But partway into the journey, his father dies. David does not know the names of his relatives or even the name of his father, which his father had a reason for not telling him. This story is not just about what happens to David, but also what happens to all those who enter his life after this tragic event. So we've got, small text here. I don't know that there are any illustrations, but as far as like how long it is, it's got 25 chapters, and it jumps right in. Chapter 1, page 1. Chapter 1 is only 8 pages long. Chapter 2 starts at page 9 and goes to page 17. So, about 8 pages. I doubt they're going to be very consistent. No, there you go. 3 goes from 18 to 24. Well, yeah, okay. So they might be a little consistent, but it's a novel. They're not going to be perfectly consistent. I do not see any illustrations though. So there's Just David. And we have Into the Unknown. And this is The Adventures of 3 Arctic Explorers. Let's see, it gives their names, but I'm not going to try and pronounce them. Let's see, they are told in this compilation of biographical and autobiographical stories. These fascinating and inspiring accounts are packed with excitement and educational value. Why will the explorers die if they eat the snow when they are thirsty? Why was it sometimes necessary to blow up the ice to save their lives? Which explorer lost all of his toes except for one due to frostbite? So this is not a novel. It's just 3 stories in here. We do have a little bit of illustration there. Small text. Oh, I didn't tell you the level 9 through 10. And we've got, let's see, some writings, some more pictures. And then this is in sections, not chapters. So they just kind of start wherever. Section 5. So I know that in the units, it tells them how much to read for that workbook, if that makes sense. So not necessarily per day, but like by the end of this workbook, you should be this far. It has some pictures. And then here's chapter 2, but chapter 2 is the next explorer. So really, it's story 2. And then it's probably also broken up. Oh no, story 3. That was a really short one. Is that really? Yeah, the second story is quite short. And then this one is broken up into sections. You can see section. So this is going to be a long one. But it's got pictures. All right, so there's that one. Up from Slavery, levels 9 through 10. Booker T. Washington's story begins in a Virginia slave hunt and ends with worldwide recognition and a life of incredible accomplishments. In this fascinating autobiography, Booker T. Washington tells his own story with skillful, engaging writing. Not only does this book give insights into the remarkable man, but it also shares profound messages about persistence, education, hard work, humility, strength, service, and sacrifices. This very worthy autobiography should be on the reading list of every teenager and adult. Booker T. Washington rose from difficult circumstances, and through hard work and perseverance, he accomplished more during his lifetime than many people accomplished in 3 lifetimes. That's a quote from Jenny Phillips. So I hope that this kind of goes through. I do not know anything about him. So if this goes through the Underground Railroad, that will be interesting for my kiddo. So we have 17 chapters. Let's see. Slave Among Slaves, Struggle for Education, The Road to Reconstruction. I don't see anything specifically listing the Underground Railroad, which is probably going to be somewhere up here, given that it's his life. But here you go. It is chock full, small text. And so we have chapter 1 is 13 pages, very tactful. Chapter 2 is 14 to 24, 10 pages. So definitely varying length because it's just like sections of his life, it seems like, which makes sense. I am not seeing any illustrations though, so that one's we'll read. This one probably would be a good audiobook, especially if it's told by a good narrator. That would probably be a good audiobook. Okay. Oh, I have not been telling you when these ones. Okay. Into the Unknown is used for units 4 through 5. Up from Slavery is units 6 through 8. And then John Greenleaf Whittier is units 7 through 8. So for units 7 and 8, you read part of both books. So if we're going into the story of John Greenleaf Whittier, this one's a 9-10. John Greenleaf Whittier worked tirelessly on his father's farm, making sure he finished the day's work before allowing himself to pen the lines of poetry that filled his mind. Eventually, though a difficult choice, John Greenleaf Whittier risked his budding career as a successful poet, editor, and politician, and his life to join the unpopular anti-slavery movement. As difficult as the decision was, Whittier knew that the right must win and that duty must be done at all costs. He dedicated the majority of his life to fighting slavery, and as a result, he lived in poverty most of his life and struggled to care for those he loved. Little did he know the poetry and legacy he left behind would touch the lives of thousands of people for decades after his death. So I'm glad that we're covering these topics. It's something that my kiddo, my goodness, wants to learn more about, wants to be aware of. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 chapters. Hidden treasures. Let's see, nothing specific about the railroad. So chapter 1, here's the idea of the text size. We get, it's got some of his poetry in there. So page 1 through 7, 7 pages, and then hidden treasures is 8 through 13. So varying length, again, makes sense. And no illustrations there. So this one could also be a really good audiobook if they, again, good narrator that can do the poetry for you. Oh, there is a picture of him. That could be a good one too. All right, the last one is Patterns on the Wall. It is a 7 to 8 level. This one is for units 9 and 10. Things are not easy for Jared Austin, but with hard work and let's see, that one's a little hard to read upside down. Indomitable perseverance. With hard work and perseverance, he turns his life into something beautiful, just like the walls that he stencils. Okay. Oh, the walls he stencils. Okay. This historical fiction novel features fascinating character development and an engaging and unpredictable plot and wonderful insights into life in New England during the early 1800s, including the frozen year of 1816. Elizabeth Yates has woven in moving messages of kindness, gratitude to God, faith, appreciation of nature, hard work, love of learning, self-improvement, optimism, humility, long-suffering, and patience. Ooh, that sounds like that's going to be good. I love me a good historical fiction. 10 chapters. And we've got about the size of text. Let's see, chapter 1. Make sure that chapter 2 is after this. Yeah, chapter 2, so 17 pages, well, 16-ish pages for chapter 1. And chapter 2, oh, these are kind of long, 18 to 34. So these are long chapters. And that was 2 chapters in there, but I'm not seeing any illustrations. So there's Patterns on the Wall. Okay, so that's the books for this level. And each unit, each level, each year comes with 10 units, 10 workbooks. And one thing I also want to mention, I guess I'll mention, maybe I'll mention when we get to all of them. Yeah. Let's see. Well, I'll talk about it as we get into it because we're going to be flipping through it, right? So let's start with Unit 1. We'll move this off to the side. This one's going to talk about the course itself. So we can talk about those things as we go. Items needed, the course set, right? The books, the grammar guide, the high school cards. These are used for all 3 years. Things only used for year 1 is the books and the booklets and access to the course videos. Let's see, art supplies, you'll need a drawing set, watercolor set, paintbrushes and palette, watercolor paper, tracing paper, and then you've got course instructions, regular pattern, finishing 1 school year, decide if you're doing a 4 or 5 day week, and then it gives you guidance on that, gives you some tips on how to get through, because these units are not laid out in like lesson 1, lesson 2, or whatever. They just give you the booklet and they kind of give you a guideline and finish it in this many days or whatever, based on if you choose a 4 or 5 day week. So then they give you tips on like use a weekly planner, those kinds of things, to kind of, because what they're trying to do is work kids into self-managing their work, right? And so Choose a daily amount of time you want to spend on the course and that kind of thing. Course reading challenge. In addition to reading books integrated with the course, read books found on the course reading challenge at the Good and the Beautiful high/HS1. The course reading challenge pushes you to read books of books of the highest moral and literary merit in several different genres. And so you can go there to get their reading, because I think somewhere in here it's going to tell them how much time they should spend in that. So read through this to get all of those details. But things to note as we're looking at this is that it is levels 1, 2, and 3. So if your state requires 4 years of English, you will need to supplement with something else for the other year. And maybe that's the book studies that you do for like 9th grade. Maybe you do their book studies for 9th grade, and then year 1 for 10th, 2 for 11th, 3 for 12th. Maybe you find a whole different course that your child is interested in. They talked about, as I was reading through things, an editing course, which I didn't know was a thing. And my kiddo is interested in, or just naturally is good at editing things. So we might look into something like that for them. Let's see. And if your state requires that you keep track of hours, not just necessarily completed curriculum, and you find that your kiddo is moving too quickly through this, you can have them read more of the books from the challenge. You could have them do the book studies and turn it into an honors course. You could, just basically we're just going to add more literature to make it more robust if they're moving through it quickly and your state requires a set number of hours. And let's see, what else was I going to make sure I told you? Requires 4. Yep, we talked about that. Credits. How many credits are involved in this course? So it talks about here art and geography are done. Each unit has an art project, and art history and geography are thorough and designed not to need supplementation. 1 art project is included for each unit for a total of 10 art projects during the course. Students interested in pursuing more than basic art skills will likely want to supplement. It looks like creative writing, high school language arts 1 through 4, they had intended to do 4, but there are only 3, and they are not intending to do a 4th one as far as we are aware of. But it has minimal fiction, personal narrative, and poetry writing. So kids who are interested in that will need to look into that. And look, it says taking the Good and Beautiful course titled High School Creative Writing. So they had plans to do one that might be on the back burner, but they do not have a high school creative writing unit or creative writing course. So if you're wondering about that, they don't have that. They only have 3 years of language arts, and they do not have a creative writing despite what's written here. So unit checks is something that you'll need to do with them after they turn in their book. But each full high school year is an equivalent to 1 credit of English, literature, language arts, and composition, half a credit of art and art history, and half a credit of geography. Now it says art and art history. I do not know if that means that it's a half a credit art, half a credit of art history. That is something that you can determine as you go through and see what your child ends up doing. But if they complete everything, they would earn essentially 2 to 2.5 credits, depending on how you interpret art and art history. They are not accredited, but that only matters if your state requires that or if the college that your child is intending to go to requires that. So that does not matter to us in our plan, but that may matter to you. So be aware that these are not accredited courses. Okay, now let's get real deal into it, right? Okay, so you start out with your unit with a grading sheet, which is nice. I like that it, walks us through how to grade it. Then we have spelling dictation here. There are going to be instructions for how to handle that. And then it talks about memorization. This is the kind of things they're going to memorize in the unit. And then it just kind of walks them through, do each of these things, right? So again, there's no lesson there is like a day one instructions, but there's no actual like break it down into lessons. It just kind of goes into it. Introduction to Just David. So read this and check the box, right? Then you have some vocabulary here. Reading assignments, spend, this is where you choose. It's a blank. Let's see, I don't have this up high enough for you, sorry. Spend blank amount of hours or more on your course reading challenge. Time is determined by your teacher. And then it tells you what they're going to read in Just David and answer the digging deeper questions. And then effective writing practice. Walks them through that. Reading complete, grammar, usage, and punctuation, parts of speech, beginning sentence diagramming, language arts and literature. And if you're wondering about sentence diagramming, if you're wondering, are they teaching more steps? No, they are not teaching more steps for sentence diagramming. If you haven't done the younger levels, it's probably built in here like this so that if it's sentence diagramming is new to your student, they can work through it. But if it's not, it's going to be a review for them. We've got poem in here. Then we have annotating and summarizing. We've got editing practice, geography. And there's got watch for things. And there it does tell them if they need to go find a video. But here's some more geography in here. This is the whole geography section. I'm going to guess poetry related to geography. And then we've got art in here. Insights journal, spelling practice. And this is all something they will complete the whole thing and then turn it in. So they're not turning it into you every day. They're turning it into you when they've completed it. And then you go through and grade it. And then art project here, which it does say optional. But in order to get that art credit, they're going to need to do it, right? So it just depends on what you and your child work out, your student work out for what you're going to attempt to earn in doing the course. Okay, so hopefully these other ones will move a little quicker. Because that was, first one. Grading sheet. Same thing going on here. Here it's talking about art specifically. So here's an art bit. I mean, I like that it lays it out so you can see how much is actually being covered. Here's where they have a little symbol to go watch a video. And if we haven't met yet, hi there. I'm Eileen from On the Same Page Together. We are a Christ-centered home of learning. This is writing, geography. Let's see, we are a Christ-centered home of learning, and we just love to share what works for us and hope that it, I'm sorry, I just threw off my whole monologue there. That's okay. Vocabulary, reading assignment, and let's share what works for us as we strive to encourage you on your journey in life and family. There we go. We got it. Effective writing practice, grammar, usage, and punctuation, editing practice, insights journal, spelling practice, review, vocabulary review, optional drawing project. Again, only optional if you're not trying to earn that credit. All right. So this is what I do on my channel. We talk about all things family, but for the most part right now it's mostly curriculum because that's what my season of life is allowing at the moment, is just taking some time to do these flip throughs when I get the new course sets. Okay, so we got spelling, memorization, literature, and then poetry, writing, vocabulary. So they're going to write a poem in this one. Reading assignments, annotating and summarizing, grammar, usage, and punctuation, editing practice, art, geography. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them down in the comments at any time, whether live or on the replay. I am always happy to answer anything that I can to help you on your journey. Insights journal, review, spelling practice, optional art project, School Unit 4. One sheet. I keep putting this down too far. Sorry. Spelling, dictation, memorization, vocabulary. Reading assignments, review, literature. Annotating and summarizing, effective writing practice, geography. More geography, grammar, usage, and punctuation. Editing practice, art. If you're finding this helpful, a thumbs up is always appreciated. It helps me and YouTube know that this is worth sharing and sharing to others who are also looking for this type of thing. Writing helps me know that the work I put into it is, is worth the time, that it's helping others. Insights, journaling, review, and comments. Any kind of engagement helps my video, helps my channel immensely. Spelling practice, optional art project. Now, if you have kiddos in the younger grades, I do have tons of curriculum flip-throughs for those. All of the science units that they have available right now, Unit 5. All but I believe level 4 language arts, which I have in my archives of footage. So I'm going to try and get that edited and put up. But we're live right now because editing, I do not have time to edit. So hoping to get that up soon, but we will see. Spelling, dictation, memorization, vocabulary, reading assignments, writing. Have all the math levels that they have right now up. Literature, poetry writing, geography. Art. Grammar, usage, and punctuation. Editing practice. Review. Spelling practice. Optional art project. And I do have the brand new high school biology course. We will be going, I'm going to actually do 2 videos on that one. That will be after this. High school unit 6. Grading sheet. Spelling, dictation, memorization, vocabulary. Language arts and literature. Reading assignments, which looks like it includes some comprehension questions, effective writing practice, annotating and summarizing, grammar, usage, and punctuation, literature, Emily Dickinson, literary analysis essay. So we'll be writing an essay, geography. I'm sure there's quite a few writing projects throughout the 3 years at least. Editing practice, spelling practice, review, more review, optional art project. Okay, Unit 7. Spelling, dictation, memorization, vocabulary, reading assignments, effective writing, geography, literature, and art. Here's a video they'll need to go find. Grammar, usage, and punctuation. Annotating and summarizing, editing practice. Insights journal, review. Spelling practice, and optional art project. We got Unit 8. Writing sheet. I should probably lift these up. That might help. Spelling, dictation, memorization, vocabulary. Reading assignments, literature and writing, literature. Annotating and summarizing. Geography. Grammar, usage, and punctuation. Insights, journaling, review. Optional art project. Wow. That's getting in depth, very detailed. Wow. Okay. Unit 9. Writing sheet. Spelling, dictation, memorization, vocabulary. I think they do mix it up. It's not a set same thing every unit. Reading assignments, effective writing. This is all writing. Annotating and summarizing, grammar, usage, and punctuation. Literature. Geography. Spelling practice. Editing practice. Insights journal. Review. And then optional art project. We've got another portrait drawing. Wow, that is just amazing. Very cool. Okay. Last unit book. Let's see. Let's make sure we're on. Not too high, not too low. Spelling, dictation, memorization, reading assignment, vocabulary. Oh, okay. All right. Just quite a bit of vocabulary. And here's the key. So they're probably going to be doing an activity with all this vocabulary. And then this is preparation for writing a process essay part 2. So they're stepping them through writing like they did in the younger grades, which I really enjoyed and appreciated that they walked them through it. Literature, geography, review, optional art project. This is a watercolor pineapple. All right, there's the workbooks. Now let's get into, let me get them out of the way. Let's get into the things that all 3 years will cover, we'll use. So the writing and grammar guide. This is not a workbook. I mean, all 3 years are going to use it, right? But still, sometimes you'll have like with the cards, it might be year 1 uses so many, year 2 uses, I don't know, but it might be the case, right? This is simply a book of reference, like a reference book. So if they ever need to remember the terms to know, parts of speech, they're in here. And then they have editing marks. We've got sentence diagramming, all of the different steps. So again, if it's not new to you, they need a refresher. It's here. If it is new to you, your kiddo, it's all right here, right? So all the different steps, 7, step 10, step 11, all the way to step 15. And then you have grammar and punctuation and usage references. So they're practicing it in the units, right? They're practicing all that in the workbook. But if they need a quick review on Rule 8, they can come take a look here. That kind of thing. This one's a little glossier, so this might be harder for you to see. Sorry. More grammar and punctuation and usage. I too like that, each section has its own color, so when you've made it to another section, which can also make it nice if you're flipping to a specific section. If you know that commonly confused words is orange, you can kind of pick it up and grab the orange bit and go from there, and they're going to be alphabetical, kind of like a thesaurus, right? So they have that reference here. If ever you need me to speed up or slow down, there's a little settings button in the bottom right-hand corner. Pink here, we've got grammar and writing guide. Writing, okay. So it's even got all the writing notes together so that they can come back to if they need it. Bottom right-hand corner, little cog wheel. You can change the speed of the video at any point. Keep this up enough that you can see that page. All right, so a good reference book for them as they do their work. Okay, so the high school cards. These will be used for all 3 years. I am not sure if they're all used at the same time or if they use a certain set per year. But here we have New England practice, continents and oceans practice, and then on the back it has the answers, right? So Nordic Europe practice, Southern United States, and then the answers. Western Europe, Midwest United States, Middle East, British Isles, South Pacific, Mid-Atlantic. I do like that the states are split up in little sections, and they also are covering the capital and the state. Whereas in the elementary levels, they learned all of the states, but they learned them like individual, right? So just these ones, just Utah, just Nevada, where these are giving them Mountain West United States, a section to learn, which can be helpful for actually fully cementing it, Pacific and non-contiguous United States. So you have Alaska and Hawaii with California, Oregon, and Washington. And then the answer on the back with their capitals, right? Because they're saying, say the name of each country. Well, say the name of each state and capital city. Eastern Europe, Southern Europe, Canada, North Africa. Oh, even Africa is split into groupings. That's nice. Western Africa, Central Africa. And I really like that they're showing you down here what that means. Eastern Africa, this section. Southern Africa, this section. And then Central America, South America. Russia and Central Asia, East Asia, South Asia, Southeast Asia. Let me get into major deserts of the world, major mountain chains of the world. And then it gives the answer there. Major rivers of the world, facts card. So you to learn facts about each of the major rivers. Major rivers of the world practice. So not only where they are, but facts. And then this is more rivers, right? Amazon. Yeah, more rivers. Because they're just like working through memorizing them. And then poetry memorization. Just going to read the poem. So on the back, it kind of works through like giving them blanks. I don't know if you can see that. Like so that they can get prompted, but they have to fill in like 2 roads diverged in a yellow wood. 2 blank blank in a yellow blank. That kind of thing. So that's pretty cool. More poetry. Same thing on the back. Poetry. Poetry. And here we have Greek and Latin Roots Year 1, Greek and Latin Roots Year 4. Review the Greek and Latin roots from years 1 through 3. Okay, so we don't have to worry about that because it's just a review. No, it's telling us to review them. So given that we don't have a year 4, you may want to work that in to one of the other years. Year 1, year 4, year 2, year 3. So if they're moving through it quickly, just basically let them just go at their pace so that they can get them all, right? Kind of thing. All right. So there's the entire course set. Again, if you have any questions, drop them down below. I hope that this was helpful for you. And I will catch you over in that high school biology. All right. All right. It'll be linked in the description box as soon as it's available, or it'll be on my channel if I'm still alive. All right. We'll talk to you later. Bye.